Good morning and welcome back to it's a Saturday morning coffee episode, but it's also time for our quarter two directors. What did I call it last time? Director's cut, director's commentary. That's one I like the most. Quarter two director's commentary. We're at the end. We're halfway through the year, so now would be a good time to look back on how the content has changed, my thoughts, and like just how I feel about where everything is going. And I gotta say, overall, I'm feeling really excited. There have been some really recent pushes and advances, or in higher numbers lately, in subscribers and downloads, just kind of all around. And that has really pumped me up, especially because I'm in a new place now where recording is going to be a lot easier. I have access to more guests. I got myself a very large Blackstone grill, which opens the door to a lot more videos and making things a little bit more fun, more dynamic. My location is much more improved to be accessible, like I said, for other guests and for getting to different places to do outside content from the house. And so just all things in all are really looking up. And so I guess let's start with this podcast, right? Very, very happy to say, despite all the challenges in the last 3 months, I guess, yeah, let's just say from the last director's commentary, that we didn't miss a single episode of Saturday Morning Coffee. We got so close on the wedding episode. I forgot to mention it there, but I got all the way to where the wedding was going to happen, and it's like, it's an hour and a half away from the house, and I had so much going on, and I realized that I had forgotten all of my podcasting equipment, and I was really upset, and I told a few people, and they said, well, just record it on your phone. It's fine if there's bad audio. And I was like, you're right. So I almost missed a Saturday Morning Coffee, but we didn't, so I'm really proud of being able to continue that. That is the one thing I want to make sure that we have an episode every single weekend, holiday, travel, whatever, for the year. The only obstacle in the way at this point is the honeymoon, but that's in November, so we've got time to prep, time to figure that out. I've started to have more guests here, which I think kind of freshens up this podcast and breaks up the monotony, right? Of always hearing my voice. And I've started reaching out to more people to potentially be guests on quarter three's episodes. And I think these are all very interesting people who have very fun and interesting things to say. And so I think this next quarter's Saturday Morning Coffee episodes will be very fun and entertaining. That being said, I still really need to rebrand this. I have not put as much time as I would have liked into thinking about the rebrand. This podcast absolutely needs it. It needs a different name. It needs, truthfully, I'm so close to just hiring like a marketing person to come in and review everything and then just give me their recommendations on everything from colors to typography to hell, even some names, like Alcove. I just, like, at first it made sense. It doesn't make sense anymore. Saturday Morning Coffee is nice, but I don't know. I don't know about that being the title of the podcast. There's a lot of potential changes I need to make, and I really just got to figure it out sooner rather than later. That being said, other than in the most recent, say, I don't know, week, there has not been a lot of growth. I'm not upset about that though. I am not too worried about growing this podcast right now and finding more audience, mostly because I'm still trying to find my voice and the style. And there's so much that I'm still trying to learn about what I really want this podcast to be and look like. Obviously it looks like this. I want this to be a Saturday morning coffee show, a weekend morning coffee show like this. So until I get things really figured out, I'm not really too concerned about pushing this. I'm really thankful for the people who do listen to this, and many of them text me within hours, if not immediately after listening to this video, to share their thoughts and stuff. So I just want to say I appreciate those people a lot, or who message me in some format. Yeah, and then I think we're going to be changing up the ending going forward. So I've really, when I first started, I really wanted this, because I listened to so many podcasts, that I wanted this to be there's recommending podcasts that I like at the end. But the problem with that is that there are actually very few podcasts. There's really not that many that last very long. Just to give you some numbers, in total, it's estimated to be 2.8 million podcasts have ever been launched, right? But of those, less than 400,000 are even considered active. And a lot of those end up being like industry podcasts, like, oh, here's your accounting news podcast, you know, or let me interview a bunch of people in, like, I don't know, the software industry, right? And so that ends up not being not interesting to share. And beyond just like the types of podcasts, then we have, like, you know, only 41% of every podcast launched reaches 8 episodes. Less than 10% make it to 50. Only a little over 5.5% of all podcasts make it to episode 100. We're quickly approaching episode 100, by the way. Very excited for that. But that's the thing. There's just not that many podcasts that are actually out there. So I want to switch off from doing these podcast recommendations at the end of every episode, and in lieu of that, when I don't have one to share, it being music, and instead I want to switch to general plugs. And what I mean for this is that I think that what I want, and I think what makes more sense, is kind of similar to how I first started, where I'm like, oh, you know, this is what I've got going on, check me out here and there, but it's still left open that, hey, if I found a song that I really, really love, or I'm really grooving to it, then I'll share it here. Or maybe it's a movie series that I have just been obsessing over lately. I can share that here too. I can tell you that I have 1 or 2 major projects coming up and where to find those. Guests can also still recommend podcasts or whatever. I think I just want to shift the expectation away from it trying to be a podcast every episode, because it's just not possible. It's not sustainable, and I'm all about sustainability. I'm always trying to figure out how to make things last, and I think this is just the approach that I have to go. And so, overall, minor changes. Well, I guess I don't know if you consider a rebrand a minor change. Substantially, it's a minor change, but overall branding, we got big changes to come. I don't know. It's a lot to figure out, so I'll see what I can figure out and do. Next up, I want to talk about the live streaming. I'm pretty sure I didn't have a single live stream in this quarter. I'd like to start again, but I'm trying to delineate what should be a personal stream and what should be a pep stream, right? So my thought process is the solo gaming stuff, I'm thinking that needs to go on a personal page. If I can get the group gaming together, which I'll talk about later, then like group games live, sure, that makes sense. Cooking live streams, even though that's solo, I feel like that should be more of a pep stream. And so I've been trying to figure out, where do things go, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what supports the brand, what doesn't. And it's not been super easy, and it's also not been a pressing concern for me this quarter. I had a lot going on. I had the wedding. I had moving down to Boise. I had several very large events that I was the sole person in charge of organizing. I also started a new job this quarter. So I had a lot going on that kind of impacted my ability to focus on certain things. So I purposely chose to say, hey, okay, I'm not going to think about this right now. And live streaming was one of them. But I think I want to try and make a return in some form or fashion on some platform of unknown choosing at this point, just because live streaming is probably the easiest and perhaps second most organic way I feel to find a new audience, to showcase what I'm doing to new people. And so I want to go back to that. I just don't know how yet. Speaking of things I've kind of put off, Gaming Too Late, the video game channel. I wasn't intending on a near full break. The people I would approach on working with me on this, they have two jobs, or they have a full-time job and they're going for a master's degree. So I haven't approached anyone to gauge their interest in this. I just gotta respect the time that they have available, and also it's gotta be someone who wants it, So I'm trying to find someone who who mentions this is what they want, and then that I also have good chemistry with. I didn't want to take a full break, but it just kind of happened with, like I said, everything that I have going on. It is what it is. I have some ideas for it to keep it kind of sputtering along until I have what I need for it. But until then, I maintain the stance that I need a group for this to work, what I have in mind, because I'm not trying to be this solo streamer. I'm not trying to be when you search up video game videos on YouTube, I'm not trying to be what the masses are on that. I think a group is the way to go. It also, when it comes to video games and humor, I think I shine best in a small group environment of 3 or 4. So maybe I can I think it's going to be a while before we work that up to where I want it to be. I think it's just going to be a matter of trying to find the right people. But it also does not help that I'm pushing 30, right? So people pushing 30, this is they maybe try this in their early 20s and then they give up on it, right? And they don't talk about it anymore. So it's going to be difficult, I think. But I know it's possible. I can find those people, and it doesn't have to be people my age too, that's not necessary for this to work. It's just, it comes down to, hell, it could be a 60-year-old, It just comes down to finding the right on-screen chemistry for this to work. Now, here's the big one to talk about, right? Canvas Apron, my cooking channel. I have found a few haters this quarter. I was very surprised. I got called a total hack, told that I have no skill, and basically, I don't know what I'm doing, and some other dumbass remarks. But haters gonna hate, and I gotta say, immediately after those hate comments came in, suddenly the algorithm started pushing my videos to more people. I got more downloads. I got a lot more subscribers. My subscriber count went up much higher after those haters came out of the woodwork. So I gotta thank the haters. And the thing about the negative comments is that it's so clear to me that they didn't listen to the video that they are commenting on, because I pretty much say in every video, I'm not a professional, or I say, according to my research, and when I'm trying to pronounce a name that I don't know how to pronounce, I say, I think this is how you do it. I've tried to figure it out. This is the best I can do, right? And then they go, oh, that's how you pronounce it, dumbass, right? And it's just funny to me because I'm like, are you watching this video at all? At the very beginning, I'm telling you people, I do not have skills in this. I have trained myself in the kitchen. I have read how to pronounce this name. That's it. I have not heard someone pronounce it. So obviously I'm not going to be able to pronounce it correctly. It's annoying, but not so that it bothers me, because like I said, my immediate thought is nice. This hate is going to drive more viewers. And it does. And so I really don't have a problem with it, which is nice, because it could be very demoralizing to see all these negative comments, but thankfully they're totally canceled out by the number of people who in person and on videos say how much they love my cooking videos, or like especially the hot dogs. So it's great. Yeah, and speaking of hot dogs, wow, I have a lot of hot dog lovers. I didn't expect that one to be as popular as it is. But they're going to be sad when I have to take a break someday from eating hot dogs, because I don't know how, but I've only posted, I think, 40 some hot dogs at this point, and the goal is 70 for the year. But just having hot dogs laying around the house, when there's nothing else to eat, Faith and I kind of resort to that. And so I may have only posted, let's say 45, just to make this easy. I may have only posted 45 hot dog recipes, but I'm pretty sure I've eaten about 130 hot dogs so far this year in various forms. Cut up in ramen, cut up on eggs and burritos, with chili and mac and cheese, or just straight up more hot dogs. So I've definitely had probably over 130 hot dogs so far this year. I kind of lost count at a certain point. I was keeping track, and then as it approached 100, just life was crazy in that one moment, and I lost track. So my estimate is somewhere around or above 130 hot dogs, and all that. And I gotta say, I am not hating it. I could go out and eat a hot dog right now. I mean, it'd be for breakfast, but I could eat a hot dog for breakfast. And I think there's only two things saving me from that. One, these are the Costco brand hot dogs, so the quality on them way higher. Second, I'm eating these, especially for the videos, I'm doing the hot dog videos in entirely different ways every single time. And so that hot dog is nothing ever like another hot dog. And so I think those two factors are what's saving me from vomiting at the look of a hot dog. I cannot believe how many hot dogs I've eaten. I absolutely am skewing the scale for the number of hot dogs the average American eats in a year, because this is ridiculous. But I don't regret it for one moment. Now, before I had to take a break on Canvas Apron accidentally, turns out a prolonged moving experience makes it really hard to maintain content. And I was exhausted every single day from packing and working and just general life. And so I cannot believe this, but a month went by without me posting a video to Canvas Apron. I was so disappointed in myself. I just couldn't surmise the energy, or like the mental focus to edit an episode and get it out. And so a full 4 weeks went without me posting a single video. And so I corrected that as soon as I realized it. And I was like, okay, let's just get a video out. And now I have one more video still in my backlog from the old apartment before I can start posting the stuff from this new place. But previously, at the start of this quarter, I was doing 3 videos per week. And that is a lot. 3 videos, I gotta say, is unsustainable. First of all, pocketbook-wise, I have a lot of student loans. And payment for those really starts up next month. I've delayed it as long as I could because of, I'll take a class. Oh, I'll take another class. That puts it off another year. And I'd say the chickens have come home to roost. It is time to start paying my student loans, and I plan on being very aggressive in my student loan payments. And between the cost of it, because I make no money off of this, so between the cost of it and the time commitment required, so now that I'm living in the city, I now have a commute, and please let me jump off a cliff, because I have said my whole life I don't want to commute, and here I am. 20 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, which is not bad. I know that it's not bad. There are people out there who have way worse, but it just means that I have a lot less time in the week for cleaning my house, because I keep a very clean house. It gives me less time to do all sorts of things. And so 3 videos a week, as much as I would love to continue doing that, is not going to be possible. I'm going to drop it down to 2 videos per week for the time being. And there's no way I'm going to drop down to 1. But I will at minimum, it'll stay 2 videos a week. If I have a whole lot of extra in the backlog, I'll throw an extra one out, but we'll see. And I'm feeling really good about that. I'm happy with it. Looking back in general, the move in the wedding was a much bigger disruptor to not just like editing and releasing, but filming as well. I thought that I had this under lock and key, and I thought I had this locked down, and I was going to have all this extra time and effort and energy to putting out, or at least recording a bunch of videos and stuff. And I was wrong. I would have been so screwed if I was still trying to do a video every single day. It wouldn't have happened. That's for sure. In general, at this point, I feel very comfortable being on camera, but I still need to let my personality shine through more. But I think that's just a general problem I have, period. It's usually got to be, like, I'm a very outgoing person, but it's got to be with people, or it's usually around people I know that helps bring it out, and on subjects that I'm, like, competent with. That's when I can talk a whole lot, and in general, I can be social and being around places. But the other thing I want to work on is formatting. So especially with the food videos, it is not entertaining for me to just stand in front of the camera and say what I'm doing, right? And so I want to try and do the TikTok thing where I showcase the food while I'm saying this is what we're cooking, and I think that will be much more engaging, much more interesting. So I'm going to work on changing the formatting on pretty much everywhere. Format is changing going forward, because I think it'll be more interesting and more engaging in the way that I want to do it. So formats, they are changing. I also just want to give a little sneak peek. I have some bigger productions inbound. I've laid the groundwork. I've got the approvals and the yeses to get certain things done. I have it's mostly in the food category. We're going to be taking this show on the road here pretty soon, and I think it's going to be very fun and very interesting. The one thing is that I wanted to buy a bigger, nicer camera before doing it. I don't think it's going to be possible, especially not with, like I said, how I'm going to be much more aggressive with my student loans than I have in the past. And so I'm really hoping that I can just figure out this camera. I know it can do higher quality footage. I just don't know how to work a camera. I really don't. So I need to spend more time trying to figure this out and getting better quality film before these bigger productions start going into place. I think it's going to be near the end of Q3 or the beginning of Q4 before you see any of these productions. But let me tell you what, I am stoked for what I have in the barrel, so to speak. So with that, I gotta say, this is the end. I don't have anything more for the director's cut of our Q3 episode. Let's see if I have a song for you. Okay, I do have a song actually, and I gotta tell you right now, this song is in a genre on which we have not shared before on this podcast. It is, I would say, the most accurate definition is 80s fantasy metal. That's how I would. How I would describe it. And the song is called "Into the Storm" by Blind Guardian. And it's exactly it. It comes from a playlist of all, like, very much feels like 80s fantasy movies with all heavy metal kind of music that kind of builds it up. And so I think it's great. It is not for everyone. I recognize that, but it's a very interesting song. The lyrics are very entertaining. So if you have any inclination towards heavy metal at all, give it a shot. Let me know what you think. With that, thanks again. Thanks for being here, and I'm really excited to see what the second half of this year brings.